Okay, we're live. Okay, three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 175. We're calling this Facebook and Cambridge Analytica. Obviously, you heard a lot of stuff in the news, and you're like, what is this Cambridge Analytica? I think I heard that sounds like a craft beer or some sort of college that does, I don't know, that you see on TV or whatever it is. But they are actually an entity, and they harvest data from Facebook legally. I mean, it started legally, and we'll get into that and everything else. And you obviously know what Facebook is. The last person I got introduced to is Tom, who's going to tell us about Facebook while not having a Facebook.
Yes, I do not have a Facebook, which surprises more people the more people I tell it to. They're like, hold on, wait a minute. You don't have a Facebook? Are you actually human? And the answer is no. I'm actually a collection of 4 or 5 independent robots in human skin.
Except now Tom is the cool kid because he didn't have a Facebook before it was cool. Because now apparently a whole bunch of people are deleting their Facebook, and I'm not one of them, but I did go back and do a security audit last night, which we'll get into. Anyway, so if you haven't heard the news or you don't understand what it is, we all know what Facebook is. Facebook, social network, big thing, movie, Mark Zuckerberg, and all that other good stuff. He mines data. The reason Facebook exists is not so you can tag your friends in photos and show your food or where you're going or your kids, but to get your likes and personality and everything else, in which they sell to people who ask for it. And that's their business model. So that ad that you get for the best type of suitcase probably meant that you traveled a lot or something else. That's the start of it. And obviously, as ads go, they get better and better and better. But there are other people who, how do you target these people? How do we find people who travel or this or that? And that's where these data stores come in. And Tom's going to explain that a little bit better.
So Facebook's business model is all about collecting as much data as humanly possible on as many people as humanly possible. And then they allow advertisers to target certain groups. Like, let's get Midwestern people about, age 45 who love Chevy and work on their cars. And then we're going to try to sell them this upgraded body kit in a do-it-yourself style fashion because we know they're go-getters and they've got the cars. You can target, very distinct subsets of people. You can target people by race, by gender, by age, by geographic area, target them by political preference. You can say, hey, I want to target just the people who liked Taylor Swift's page so I can sell them to this other artist that's kind of sort of copying T Swift, but not really because maybe they'll be fans. And that's Facebook's entire business model. They do have a wing or certain use cases dedicated to research and giving researchers a bunch of data on people. And that's kind of where this whole mess starts, is that Cambridge Analytica funded this researcher who went out to Facebook and said, hey, I need access to your backend. I need access to your API. I'm going to grab these things from people and do personality analysis on a bunch of users if they opt into my app. And it turns out that not only did he grab everyone who opted into the app, he grabbed everyone who they were connected with as well, because that is how the Facebook API used to work.
So, and I mean, Facebook has gotten in trouble in the past for this. If I don't know if Tom remembers this, but it was like Facebook Beacon 10 years ago. It was this thing where they had an ad and it said recommended by, and your picture would show up, and it would be a picture for your friends, like a personal recommendation. And Facebook is in that model of let's fail. Let's see what creeps people out. And if it's not that creepy, we're going to do it, because you have to push the envelope, because personalized ads are obviously the next big thing. But if it gets too personal, people get weirded out. And more recently, and they do this throughout, through their entire existence, pushing this envelope. Recently, they had exclusionary groups. So if you want an ad, let's say you're selling tampons, well, there's no reason to sell tampons to men, so you would like to exclude men. And that sounds normal, but then they're like, hey, we want to exclude Jews or Muslims or black people or other people of color or other minorities. People got their arms all thrown up, and they said, wait, that's bad. And they brought that back. They said they've stopped doing it. Now, I don't buy ads on Facebook, so I can't verify that, but things like that do exist, because obviously targeted business, you want to target the right people. And unfortunately, Cambridge Analytica targeted a lot more than that. And we just want to but say this is not a political talk. We're not talking politics here, whether it was right or wrong. We just want to give you what happened and let you make your own judgment on
that. Yeah. So Cambridge Analytica does a lot with campaign prediction, statistics, analysis, demographic information, polling. They are basically a big data company for politicians. They do other stuff too, but it seems like they make a lot of their money by targeting campaigns and by selling their services to people trying to get elected into public office. And that's not a Republican or a Democratic or a liberal, or it's not a political thing. It's used by everyone.
Go to your I was gonna say, go to your party's your party affiliations chapter in your town, and you can see the voter registration records. Like, in fact, I didn't know if I was registered to vote in my new house, so I called my friend up who's part of the political party, and he goes, "Is this you?" And gave me my address, gave me my name and everything else. I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, you're registered." So they have this data. They have which party you're registered under and everything else. And that's how they target you. That's how you get those emails from both sides saying, give us money, give us money. You hope that they don't give you for districts that you're not affiliated in, but they'll do that too.
I mean, Barack Obama very famously ran a very well-run campaign for presidency in his first term, and even his second, but the first was really powerful because they used the internet, they used big data, they used statistical science to hone in and target small dollar donors to get people to donate to the campaign war chest. So it's not a Republican thing, it's not a Democratic thing. What you have to go into this understanding is that literally everyone uses these services. Literally everyone is using big data and data science to try to get what they want.
So what exactly happened? Now, in our show notes, we posted a whole bunch of articles, so you can pick your news media of choice.
Your fake news of choice. Yeah. We only use the fakest of news here on N30.
We just limited. We didn't post The Guardian, so The Guardian has gone a little too tinfoil hatty and like no more internet at all, and that's how you're going to be safe. But anyway, so it looks like some whistleblower, some guy at Facebook went and asked them, "Hey, we noticed this weird stuff going on," and they told him to be quiet. And I guess they eventually fired him, and that's a whole nother story there. But apparently, Cambridge Analytica went to this professor who had this app, and I had the name of it. I'm going to go look for it while Tom's talking, and said, "Hey, can we use that data?" And from there, they were able to get 50 million Facebook users' data and use that to run Donald Trump's election digital media platform campaign.
Yeah, so it looks like this. This has been called a breach in just about every article I'm seeing, except for the article posted by the EFF. And let's be clear, this is not a data breach. The researcher obtained, API access legally. He obtained it in a not shady way. He said, "I'm using it for these purposes. Could I please have API access?" Now, what Facebook didn't know is that this researcher was going to turn around and take all this data he had and hand it off to somebody who wasn't authorized to have it. So that's where the breach comes into play. It's not that the original API user or this original researcher wasn't allowed to have the data. He absolutely was authorized to. He wasn't authorized to take the data and hand it to someone else, which he did.
So back in the day, you wrote an app for Facebook when the apps were still big. Now, I don't know how big the apps are because I block just about all of them. But let's say you wanted to play Candy Crush or whatever app of choice. it would ask you for permissions, and we've spoken about this at length, how to go and check these, and we'll hit it again, and it says this is what we need. And one of the permissions is become your friend, or act like you as your friend. We won't post, but we are your quote unquote friend, and through there they can see all your friends and basically be you in those purposes. So then they were able to mine all your friends' data. So one of the articles said if 300, each person has about 350 friends, they got 50,000, they got 1,000 people, times that by 350. That's how they get all these people, because you don't need to hit everybody. And what this professor did was make a survey app. Hey, we want to see how this product could be better. He got, I don't know, 1,500 people to take it. And from there, it just spread.
Yeah. So the Facebook API has changed since then. And, just because you have access to one account's data doesn't mean you automatically get everything tied to that account, or every connection made with that account. That is a pretty severe limitation on what it once was, which is, hey, if you connect to me, if I connect to your app with the API and I agree to share my data, I'm automatically sharing all of my friends and their data as well, which is actually, I'm surprised that people forgot about this, it seems, because do you remember the big thing with Facebook quizzes back in the day when, hey, what kind of toast are you? Or if you are going to be a type of strawberry jam, how jammy are you?
Tom, I got bad news for you about that. It wasn't back in the day.
It wasn't?
Now it's what celebrity do you look like? It's what Snapchat filter fits your face?
See, I haven't been on in so long. I don't even know what the quizzes are anymore. How many snaps do you Insta on Gram or something?
Yeah, it's really bad. It's like we can analyze your face and figure out what kind your ancestry nonsense. And I make it very famously, and I tell people, you're giving your. I actually said this a year ago. Like when Cambridge Analytica first broke and there were ties to Jared Kushner and everything else, I said all those quizzes are going to Donald Trump's digital campaign. Like I actually said that a year ago. Like this story coming out is like the worst kept secret. It's like the government is spying on you. We all knew that. Like we all knew. We just didn't know how. I thought it was the quizzes, and I wasn't wrong. It was just one quiz, and that quiz, that app, I just had it. The app was called "This Is Your Digital Life." That was the name of that app. This is your digital life.
So like 10 years ago or so, people got up in arms because if you, who was it? It was a university. I cannot remember who, but the EFF helped break this story, where they threw in a quiz and they said at the end, hey, thank you. Thanks to you, we just got all of this information on you, and they showed all of your personal information, and all of this information on all of your friends, and they showed all of their personal information. And it was kind of a bombshell, but people just forgot that existed, I guess.
It was the ACLU, and I remember
that's the one. That's the one.
It was about probably 10 years ago now. It's been a while, but it was exactly that. And I'm sure we've spoken about this very early on about permissions and what you really should be worrying about. So
yeah, so every app you use on Facebook, or every site you sign into with Facebook, can request API access to get certain pieces of information about you. Now I haven't used a Facebook app in a very long time, so I can't speak to what that is. But yeah, so that's basically how Cambridge Analytica ended up with 50 million user profiles worth of data to work with. Because you just have to, throw a small rock in a pond and the ripples hit everyone else.
And we all have that friend that will take literally every single quiz. Which how many wombats can you tackle in a room, like by yourself?
At least 4.
So I mean, you all have that one friend that will do it, and I'm sure your dying question here is, okay, so now what do you do? But let's finish up there. So the story, if you keep on reading the New York Times article, it keeps on getting worse. So now we're finding out that they've been selling, Cambridge Analytica has been selling this data to who's ever asking for it. And somebody, so maybe I think it was the NPR article that you're saying, how accurate is this data? And the guy said, well, they had my voter history, as in not who I voted for, but how I was registered. I think they know if you voted. I think that they do know if you voted.
Because you post I voted on Facebook,
yeah.
right? You show the little sticker.
Yeah, they had that. Well, they matched it up to voter registration records as well, and they said that the data set was incomplete, but they said they had something like 1,500 data points. That's a lot on each individual person. So they probably knew everything about you, and then you randomly start seeing ads for those stuff. That's when the bots come out on both sides.
Yeah. So it turns out that this was used to target. I wish I had the quote in front of me. Basically, to target ads and promoted news stories towards people that would be most affected by it and most impacted by it, including fake news. Now, Cambridge Analytica, to throw in their side of the story, went on kind of a Twitter riot yesterday and posted a bunch of myths about what was going on. And they specifically did say, no, we are very concerned about fake news, just like everyone else. So just to throw out their side of the story, but they would choose stories in order to either pacify voters on the opposing side of the political spectrum. So saying, oh, there's no way, this person would get elected. Don't even worry about voting. All the polls are saying so-and-so is going to totally whoop this person in the polls. So he just, go to bed early tonight. Don't sleep in late. Don't even vote. And then on the other side, on the people that hired them, they were saying, hey, you have to vote this way, or all of these horrible things are going to happen to you. They're gonna take your guns. They're gonna build a Voltron, and they're going to kill you and your entire family. They're going to bring back another season of Fuller House, and like people ran to the hills screaming because of the horrific things they were reading in these fake stories.
And again, we want to preface this: the Cambridge Analytica, other than stealing this professor's data, this was their business model, and they're not the only one. There are a lot of these companies for just about everything. All these IoT companies. Remember, I think we said a few weeks ago, Roomba is tracking how the Roomba robot goes in your house and is wanted to sell that data. I'm sure everything, your phone obviously tracks everything. Remember, Uber famously left tracking on for a few more minutes, and they claimed it was to make sure you got to your place safely or the driver wasn't. So they all, Movie Pass. So I think we spoke about this last week or 2 weeks ago. Movie Pass, that's that $10 a month unlimited movies at the movie theater program. They famously came out and said, yeah, we track everything that you do when you're in that app. Like from the movie theater, from when you hit buy to when you get back into your car, we track all of that. That's how we make the money to pay for all of this. And people are now getting freaked out, but you know what? They still use it. Nobody's canceled. So people are getting outraged, but they're still using it. As in, we like free and we'll give a little privacy to stay free.
You know what? I am one of the guilty parties. I have a Movie Pass account. I totally understood what they were doing when I signed up for the Movie Pass account, and I am trading away the location data from the time I hit buy till, when I close the app at the end of the movie. Yeah, for $10 for unlimited theater visits, that's my price, I guess. Apparently, I'm pretty cheap.
And apparently, I'm sure you're watching all the comic book movies. Are you a comic book person fan?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Black Panther was phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, you've got to go.
I don't watch movies, so I mean, I guess let's go to Wakanda. That's about the only thing I know. But anyway, so they know that you're doing that. They know when you're going. So if you're going on the weekday, you clearly don't have kids, and you're going to a rated R movie. So they know that you have a lot of disposable income. So, and if they know you're going to the restaurant after, you're either dating or you have somebody with you. So like what you're not thinking about, they've already thought about. So when you say how we can connect this, They do that. Google Opinion Rewards. I didn't know this. So on a Google Opinion Rewards, when they give you, have you been at these places? If you choose, some of the places don't actually exist. Like every once in a while, I get a weird one. It's like, have you been to Rite Aid, Walgreens, CVS, and it's like some generic drugstore? If you choose that one, it's like, next time, pay attention. That place doesn't exist.
Wow. Okay. I wonder if that's probably their spam protection to make sure nobody's botting the system and getting a bunch of credit.
Exactly. Okay. So it's like, and they're knowing because they're checking your location. Again, your phone does all of that, and everyone's perfectly okay with it. And only when they're presented to it. It's like when you go to your Google dashboard or your Echo dashboard and you hear all the commands. Like that's a thing, because Amazon famously, Google is famously doing better voice recognition, so the Echoes and the Google Homes can be better. Like they're not lying about that.
So there was an employee who has been quoted everywhere, even in this New York Times article, Christopher Wiley, who helped found Cambridge Analytica and worked there until 2014. Let me try to find his full quote, which was basically he said he described the company as an arsenal of weapons. Okay, here we go. He said of Cambridge Analytica's leaders, rules don't matter to them. For them, this is a war and it's all fair. They want to fight a culture war in America. Cambridge Analytica was supposed to be the arsenal of weapons to fight that culture war. So, yeah, they're inherently a political and politically motivated organization.
And again, it's and they went for either the right candidate or the wrong candidate, depending on which side you fall on. But again, both sides do this. Some a little more dirty than others, but all politics are dirty. If we just voted our conscience, Ross Perot would still be our president.
Vote Tom. Tom 2020.
Vote your conscience in 92 and 96. I think in 96 it was. Anyway, so at the last, we have 8 minutes left. The last 8 minutes, what should you do about this? Okay, so you're all up in arms. What can you do? You can't really, like, honestly, like I've seen stories today that people are deleting Facebook in droves. I don't think that, I mean, the WhatsApp founder came out today and said, time to delete Facebook. I don't think that's a viable option, honestly. Like, if you want to do it, go for it. If you're on Instagram or Snapchat, maybe deleting Facebook is fine. But for most people, that's not an option.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived without Facebook for long enough that, you know, it doesn't bother me at all not having one. But I didn't really like it to begin with. It was a better version of MySpace, you know, back when I was on it. But, you know, after dumping it, after realizing that everyone on that platform I didn't want to talk to anyway, and the people I did want to talk to, I saw on a daily basis. So who cares? You know, dumping it hasn't hurt me. What it's not going to do, though, is it's not going to erase your data from Cambridge Analytica. It's not going to, you know, totally erase your data from Facebook. They're still going to have everything you put into it until the day you shut it off, and they'll probably still have it afterwards. There is very little retroactive benefit. I would say there's no retroactive benefit. There's benefit going forward in that you're not providing even more data to Facebook, and maybe you know, alleviate some stress in your life. Maybe you don't have to, you know, keep endlessly scrolling day after day. Maybe you go to Twitter and you scroll endlessly day after day there instead.
I mean, Twitter probably keeps the same information, but anyway,
yeah.
So first, Facebook has a really awesome security audit. So if you go into your settings and then security and privacy, go through there. It says when you edit your profile, each one is a drop down. What information should your friends have, and your likes. Start unliking things. Like, do you really need that business that your friends set you up years and years ago? I don't like generally most businesses, because unless they're giving me coupons, if they're just telling me that they're open or not, don't really care. I'll call them. I try to limit the photos I put up there, especially of the kids. What I do is you post a photo, you wait 2 weeks and then delete it. Again, it doesn't help, but moving forward type thing. Just basically go through your profile and see what's there. What can you delete? What do you really need? Do you need every famous endless quote there? Do you need all your family members listed? Maybe just your significant other? What's the goal? For me, I do need people to reach out and find me. That I do need. So I do have a current, or I have a picture. I don't want to say it's current. It's the same picture I have everywhere else. I do have an email address that I do check, but it's not my main one. I have a phone. I have my Google Voice number, so I don't get spammed by people. But anyway, but that's about it. I have my gender, I guess. I guess that's important. But other than that,
you could, so the EFF, and we'll make sure this is in the show notes. The EFF put out this how to change your Facebook settings to opt out of platform API sharing. Now, that's a whole lot of words. Basically, there's a way to disable the Facebook platform. Now, what that means is that literally anything that uses the Facebook API, except for the site itself, will be turned off. So if you log into an app with Facebook, that's not going to work anymore. If you log into games, that's not going to work anymore. If you or your friends use apps, even Facebook apps, that's not going to work anymore. Instant personalization, I don't know what that is, but yeah, that's not going to work anymore. And apps you previously installed may still have your info, like Cambridge Analytica. So it's not going to automatically remove all of that data. It will remove access to future data, though. And apps you've logged into with Facebook will be removed. And posts by apps will be removed. So it does a lot of things. It really limits the usefulness of Facebook, but it is an option if you don't want anything using the API to ever touch your Facebook account.
Per Thorsheim, he's a European password cracker extraordinaire, tweeted this 6 months ago, a year ago, basically saying that that time hop feature of what would you like to share today, your memories, is a really good daily exercise of deleting your previous posts. Basically, every time it comes up, you just go back. It's right there, delete post, and you can systematically start removing things in the past that they're still going to use as data for you. And it gets the job done. It shows your family everything, and then immediately gets deleted. But go through that. Spend half an hour going through the Facebook privacy settings. It looks daunting. It's really not that bad. Ask yourself, if it's public, somebody has it. Just remember that. If it's public, somebody has it. If it's with your friends, not everyone has it, but they can get it. And I mean, you can set up two-factor with Facebook. Look, Facebook, you can give them a public PGP key and they will email you stuff using that PGP key. Like, they're doing the right things, but when it comes to selling your data, they want money for it.
Yeah. So one actionable thing that you can absolutely do is when you're on the internet at all, whether it's Reddit, because they love to get up in arms about virtually everything at least twice a day, Imager, Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, if people still use that. I still kind of like Google Plus, Mastodon, whatever social news, social media site you're on. Keep in mind that if you see political memes or news stories or something that's just completely outlandish, or you look and you're like, yeah, of course they would do that, don't just file that away in the back of your head like it's a known truth. Get your news from reputable sources. Get your news that's been fact checked. Get your news and your understood information about the what's happening on the political battlefield today from people who actually do the legwork to verify what they're printing. Getting political news from Facebook memes is like getting, I don't even know. I don't have a good analogy for this.
So
recipes off the back of a hamburger helper box. That's all I got.
So you're saying, look, verify the news source. So I did post in the WhatsApp group, by the way. Message us, we'll get you in the WhatsApp group. How come most news sites are not HTTPS? Start looking at that. You'll be surprised how many news sites are not HTTPS, which shocked me. And I think if I have some time between AP testing and the year, I may end up start aggregating all these websites and, do some statistical analysis and hopefully present it. But you go like CNN is, but Fox News, you actually have to put the S for it. NJ.com, the CSS sheet, the CSS is not HTTPS, so it doesn't show up right. Like these little weird things. The Hill is not. And it's weird. There's no rhyme or reason which one is and which one isn't, but it's really hard to say facts matter and we're fair and balanced and all this other good stuff if you're not HTTPS, because the WordPress blog is HTTPS and they're peddling fake news. So
yeah, that's not a good thing to keep in mind. Just because it's HTTPS doesn't lend anyone credence. Literally, they're free. Anyone can be HTTPS if they just want hard enough.
Yes, you're right. I did make a false analogy, but the idea is you would think that the news sources would spend the money, whatever it is, to go to an DigiCert or whatever and get an HTTPS certificate. And yes, you can.
It would be nice,
but they don't, and that really, really bothers me.
So, indeed.
So anyway, we just went over, so we're gonna end it now. I'll hopefully post this week, and we will again see you next week. And by the way, follow us. There's more Cambridge. This story is just breaking. There's going to be more and more of it.
Much more.
And we're just giving you the heads up. I think right now Mark Zuckerberg is speaking on CNN. Again, it's Thursday night. I don't know when I'll post this, but there's going to be more. But basically, start going back and auditing your stuff to see what you do and don't need, because now you realize that it's being sold. So anyway, everyone, have a good night.
See ya.
Bye. Okay, stop.